It's Monday, November 24th, and we actually have a pretty concerning severe weather outlook for today. We actually have a slight risk, which is going to overspread a lot of eastern Texas, then up into the lower Mississippi River Valley. We also have a larger marginal risk, which kind of just expands on those same areas a little bit more. Than we have an associated thunderstorm risk, which spans those same areas, then up into the Ozarks as well. Now, this is going to be a all hazards risk. So this means that tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail are all going to be in play for the hail outlook. I think this is going to be a little bit conditional because this is going to be a mostly linear storm mode. At most, I think we could see 2 inches in diameter, specifically in this yellow shaded 15% region. For our damaging wind outlook, I think this is going to be something that's going to be a bit more prevalent, maybe receiving up to 70-mile-an-hour damaging winds, specifically in this highest risk area right here, this yellow shaded region. Then actually we have a pretty large area which could see a lot of kind of spin up tornadoes. Now, these aren't necessarily going to be super strong, but I think we could see a pretty high frequency of some spin up tornadoes in this line. That's what's going to be highlighted by that 5% risk right there. And this is how this is going to play out today. And this actually starts with this same exact line. This is the same exact weather system that brought a lot of severe weather to central Texas yesterday. This is just going to migrate a little bit more east, and also it's going to be associated with that central low pressure system rotating up here in parts of Oklahoma, then trough as well. And this is actually going to probably remain a pretty strong line of storms all the way through the night from yesterday, even into the very early morning hours, but it will start to dissipate a little right after daybreak, and then we're going to start to see some redevelopment slowly but surely as we get around lunchtime. We're actually going to have a lot of areas of lift or confluence in front of our main line, which could bring a couple of blips. That is why prefrontal supercells are something that could be of concern today. I don't think that's going to be the highest risk. I think the highest risk is actually going to be when these little blips interact with our main line back here. When that happens, we could see a potential for our main line to actually gain in strength, where those cell mergers or interactions occur, bringing some larger hail, more damaging winds, and then likely even a couple of spin up tornadoes. And we can kind of see that happening here around the early to mid afternoon. Once our line starts to really get going, we start to get a lot of those cell mergers. That's kind of exactly what happens. Now, also with this environment, our warm sector is going to be quite a bit larger. We're going to have a warm front, kind of cold front, warm front complex, of course, with that low pressure system, bringing some really favorable shear to this region, also increasing the threat for that. Now, for these storms a little bit more up north, which might look a little bit concerning, those are actually not, because those are going to be north of the warm front. The ingredients for those storms are going to be way, way less. And the main thing is going to be that there's going to be a much more stable environment up there. But in our main risk area, as it migrates more to the east, I think we could see maybe a peak when that low level jet kicks in, and we can see that we're still seeing some blips kind of started up from just warm air advection from the Gulf of Mexico right here, still crashing into that line, still kind of increasing that threat all the way up until nightfall in the evening hours. And I think this line will probably start to cool off as we go into probably a couple hours after nightfall. And then actually we're expecting to see almost the same thing happen again, just a little bit more to the east tomorrow. So be sure to look out for that. Now, we talked about all the severe weather that's possible, the tornadoes, hail, damaging winds, but we did not touch on right there is going to be the rainfall. This is actually going to be a pretty big risk as well with this. In this yellow shaded region, definitely 2 to 4 inches of widespread rainfall can be possible. Then in this green shaded region, probably 1 to 2 inches of widespread rainfall. And then in this yellow shaded region, I think there could be some isolated areas even receiving up to 5 to 6 inches of rainfall. So definitely be aware of this severe weather threat, but also be aware of the flooding threat that could come with this line of storms as well. And this is what is kind of at fault for this storm system today on the synoptic level. We can see that we can actually have a little bit more of a stronger jet max or trough ejection than we were expecting a couple more days ago. This is going to bring quite a bit more forcing to our storms, more organizational shear, and definitely going to be more of a linear favored mode with this. Absolutely, if we have stronger ejection like this model is kind of showing right here. So this is going to be the main thing that's at fault for our line today from a synoptic level. And this is a weather sounding kind of showing us where all of our ingredients are coming from. And immediately something that's very obvious is our shear parameters. Really, really good low level shear. This is going to help with some damaging winds at the surface. Then also that tornado threat. That tornado threat is going to absolutely be in play because our cloud base are going to be really, really close to the ground. We can also see some curvature in our hodograph, which is also an indication of some really strong low level shear. Then a nice elongation out, almost 53 knots of bulk shear. I think there will absolutely be some pretty organized clusters within this line, also some updrafts. Also a reason why we think that we could see a somewhat significant hail threat with this. Now, something that was not as present yesterday, but is today, is going to be the instability. This is going to be a much more unstable environment, definitely over that 1,000 joules per kilogram threshold for some strong thunderstorms for sure. Then our precipitable water is also going to be pretty high, 1.41 inches. That is going to be one of the reasons why we're expecting to see a bit more of a elevated flood threat today. Then that could also potentially increase the strength of our downdrafts, thus increasing the possibility of some damaging winds. So this definitely looks like something that could bring tornadoes, hail, and damaging winds, even to a pretty strong degree. So 70-mile-an-hour damaging winds in some isolated spots are going to be for sure be possible. And even though it's a linear mode, I think in the earlier stages, even when we see some cell mergers, with our main line absolutely going to see some 1.5 inch to 2 inch in diameter hail with this. Now, we just talked a lot about our severe weather risk area right here, but what about the rest of the country? Even from this same system, we're actually going to be seeing a lot of rainfall, even up into the central plains and the Midwest as well. Probably some thunderstorms up there as well. Not severe though, as the ingredients aren't going to be nearly as good. Then even the Pacific Northwest, which is not really surprising at all, but a lot of rainfall is going to be pushing into the northern Rockies, also bringing some snowfall to the region as well. And then also in the Northeast, unsurprisingly, some drizzles are also going to be expected today, but I think the areas which are going to be the most rainy are even going to be up into the Ohio River Valley. Look at this, as our main severe weather system pushes a little bit eastward. Even the Great Lakes region looks like it's going to get into some rainfall. So quite a bit more rain expected for the country than in the past couple of days. Absolutely. And then even for our winter weather outlook, or snow weather, it looks like in the higher elevations of southern Colorado, and once again, even in the Telluride region, we could be experiencing maybe up to 15 inches of snowfall in some isolated areas. And then the Pacific Northwest in the higher elevations, northern Rockies as well. And then I want you to look right here at the most northern part of the U.S., specifically right on the U.S.-Canada border. It looks like we're going to be getting quite a bit of snowfall there. And then even as we go into tomorrow, it looks like the northern U.S., right about as north as it gets for the United States, and parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, the northern Michigan Peninsula, even North Dakota are going to get in on some snowfall, probably in the double digits. Then, of course, cannot forget about the Northeast. So it looks like we're going to be getting a lot of precipitation across the U.S. today, and even some that might be snow.